Let's get cracking.
10 seconds remaining.
All right, and welcome back, everybody, to another day of the Dota 2 Champions League. And what a day it's going to be, because we got Team Liquid facing up against NaVi, and it is sure to be one hell of a match, and I can't wait to get into it, man. And not only that, not only do we have a really, really exciting match coming up, but we also got other things that we're going to be announcing a little bit later after the second, before the second game, actually. We're going to go ahead and give out a small little teaser of an announcement, and it's good stuff, guys. It's really, really good stuff. I just got word pretty much 15 minutes before we started this cast what we're going to be talking about for the Dota 2 Champions League, and I'm very, very excited. Very, very excited to be casting Dota 2 Champions League, and I'm even more excited the fact that I'm going to be able to bring on my, I keep wanting to call him my co-caster, but honestly, I can't do that. He's my play-by-play man. I'm going to be the co-caster for this one. I'm going to be controlling the camera, and I'm going to be providing the insight and the color that I do, but it's going to be AC who's going to be doing all of the play-by-play for these matches. AC, how's it going, man?
That's going well. It's great to be back on the mic with you. We were supposed to have a D2CL broadcast yesterday, and that unfortunately didn't really get going because one of the teams, well, they didn't show up. But aside from that, just really looking forward to this series in particular. Team Liquid, they've been kind of up and down. They've actually been one of the most active teams throughout all of February so far. You know, we're at February 19th right now, and they've played 14 matches just in the last 19 days. So very active team. They've won about 10 of those 14. And, they look good at times. They look really damn good at times, but they do still have some things to shore up. On the side of NaVi, they're just kind of sticking with the pattern of playing 2 to 3 matches a week, give or take. And they've dropped a couple this month. Mostly that's been due to just stand-ins and the such. So looking ahead to this match as we really begin to get into the meat of the D2CL schedule. You know, this is where teams begin to separate themselves. And these are 2 very heavy contenders coming out of that second group. And lots riding on this match. I suspect by the time we get through all of the group stage, we're going to look back at this match and know that this was a rubber match, a match that does determine a lot. So both teams looking to bring their A game and looking to secure a win and improve their own standing.
Yeah, this would definitely be big for NaVi. Of course, if they could take this, they pretty much ensure their standings. But Team Liquid, I mean, if they can take down the Giants of NaVi, it'll show that, like you said, they've been looking good. Sometimes, other times, they've kind of faltered, and specifically against some of their American brothers. They haven't had the greatest performance against some of the other Americans, and, at times, you kind of question, okay, Team Liquid, I know you're playing a lot, but what's going on, guys? And if they could take down NaVi, no one's really going to question exactly what their strategy is, how they're feeling right now. Pulling up the stats right now from Dota 2 Champions League, we got this awesome little graphic for Team Liquid. Looking at it, TC, Bulba, Koifa, Fluff, Way 2. We also, on top of this, I actually just got word, I did not know about this, but the Dota 2 Champions League, d2cl.org/statistics. They have this really, really awesome site where they have all the statistics for all the matches so far in the D2CL. So supports, you can look at comparing all of the support players and look at who's getting the most kills, who's feeding the most, who has the highest GPM. It's really, really good stuff. And the one thing I've noticed from this, just before we start this match, Liquid leading the way in so many of these categories. When it comes to kills, right now, Fluff and Way 2 are both ahead. They're at the top kills when it comes to their fellow supports. And whoa, looks like I just got kicked out of the game real quick. So
it's all right. As you get that lined out, I can talk briefly about the draft. Looking ahead, NaVi's already picked up an Ember Spirit with their second pickup, and the hero just introduced into CM in the last 24 hours or so. And listening to Professional Reactor, we've already seen him picked. He was picked a couple of times yesterday and had some success. And if I'm not mistaken, it was Puppy who, I can't remember where it was. I remember reading about it, but really hates that hero. More to the point, hates playing against it. This time, though, drafts it for himself. And, that's a hero I think, at least for now, we're going to see have a bit of a mainstay here in competitive play. I mean, teams begin continuing to mess with the hero, continuing to figure it out, continuing to find their own flavor and style with him. But as much as anything else, though, what makes it fun as a viewer and as a caster to watch an Ember Spirit is there's really no set core build. I mean, like take a Lifestealer, for example. There are really just a couple of ways you see him build. Usually it's going to be phase drums, armlet, or just phase armlet or something like that. Sometimes you'll see it mixed up with phase, drums, S and Y, that kind of thing. But you have a general idea of 2 or 3 builds that are usually going to be the most popular, barring some kind of a complete reversal or just a very situational build. With Ember Spirit, I mean, multiple Battle Furies is pretty much, is beginning to feel like the late game just because of the pure amount of burst damage you're going to get out of him. But Sleight of Fist is just so powerful in that regard. However, the early game and the mid game, still a lot of question marks as to how most teams are going to build it. So either way, should be a treat to get to watch NaVi handle Ember Spirit so soon after he's gone into captain's mode.
Yeah, I actually had a match yesterday. It was the last match of the night for the MLG TKO tournament, and the Americans actually, one of the American teams did pick it up. We had to patch through, we had a delay, but they made it worth it because they picked up the Ember Spirit. However, it was interesting to watch. However, it did not perform well at all. But I think it has a lot of potential, and you're right. What the really good thing about Ember Spirit is he's versatile enough to be able to fulfill several different roles. He's an excellent hard carry. He also is able to be a strong mid-game oriented carry. It all depends on your item build and what you go for. If you go for a more passive farming style build, he's an excellent turtling hero. I mean, it's rare to actually talk about carries and say that this hero can go late game and be a pretty decent late game carry. There are other ones that outshine him, of course, but he's a pretty decent late game carry in his own right. And he also has the ability to make the game go late with his ability to turtle with Sleight of Fist. It is so hard to be able to push up against a strong Ember Spirit who's farmed up a basic amount of items and is constantly spamming that out against you while you're trying to push uphill. You combine that with any other sort of spam, and you actually have to commit every single time you go uphill, and that's very, very tough to do. You can't just sit back and siege down towers because all of a sudden Ember Spirit has taken down half your health with just a couple of Sleight of Fists.
Yeah, and it works both ways as well in terms of being able to slow push. You can do that very well with an Ember Spirit. You put him with, say, a Nature's Prophet, for example. Wow, Sand King pick. I actually like that. We'll get back to that in a moment. But yeah, it works both ways. Like you said, he can turtle, but he's also very good at just locking you down and suffocating you with slow push. It's very tough to just kind of sit under a tower, sit back under your own tier 3s if you lose map control, and just weather that storm. One thing I love about NaVi's lineup as much as anything right now, though, and to tell you the truth, this goes for Team Liquid as well, and I do want to talk a little bit about what they've already drafted out with Tinker, Beastmaster, and Lifestealer based on what we saw the last time we saw Team Liquid play. They have a kind of a fun gimmick there. But both lineups are full of do-something heroes right now, be it supports, be it carries. These predominantly are heroes that want to be as active as possible from the 15-minute mark on in the game. So I think we can expect a lot of action. But last time we saw Team Liquid in action, they ran something very similar where you end up with a Tinker with boots of travel, you infest a Lifestealer into him, and then you have a Beastmaster Hawk that you can fly around the map as just a mobile drop station for an absolute bomb of pain in terms of teleporting the Tinker onto the Hawk with boots of travel. So a little bit of a gimmick already being shown from Team Liquid. I'm really anxious to see how NaVi is going to react to this.
Yeah, this is a very, very fun type of draft because, like you said, it's a gimmick, but it's also a really, really fun strategy that dates all the way back to Dota 1. This actually used to be a strat that was picked up a lot. Beastmaster at one point in time was actually banned out frequently because of this strategy against certain teams. They were running it so effectively with so many different heroes, too. It wasn't just this, but specifically Team Liquid. What is very, very specific about this is you look at this and you think you already know the lanes. You're like, okay, Tinker is probably going to be mid, Lifestealer in that carry role, safe lane, maybe an aggressive tri-lane to free up Beastmaster, a safe lane solo. But for the most part, you look at the lanes, you identify mainly where they're going to be at. Like Beastmaster sometimes run as a mid, but then that leaves Tinker to pretty much try and do Ancients, and that normally does not work out well. So what it actually is Tinker's going to be running the safe lane, Beastmaster in the mid, and you're actually going to run a Lifestealer. Now, whether or not they actually choose to run an aggressive tri-lane, if they think it's going to be a solo off lane and Tinker can deal with it, they can definitely run an aggressive tri-lane. But last time, they were dealing with an aggressive tri-lane run up against them, and they went ahead and put the supports onto Tinker to make sure he picked up that early boots of travel, because Lifestealer is not actually essential in this strategy. He's not that big carry that needs necessarily to pick up that farm. All he has to do is just be able to pick up level 6, and that's really all you need. That's the wonderful thing about this, is because the lanes actually throw you off from the very, very beginning. You think you know everything about this strategy, and all of a sudden they're switching up the lanes, and then they're teleporting on you. It's really, really strong versus 4 protect 1 strategies, because this lineup is very, very good at being able to shut down one hero repeatedly. Now, NaVi have a little bit more versatile lineup, and something that's really, really interesting here is we're going to see a Sand King mid. Sand King is a core here, while we have Chen and Ancient Apparition being our 2 supports. So this is already shaping up to be a pretty interesting draft for NaVi as well.
Yeah, I really like the way that Navi's running this right now. I really like their draft in general. That Sand King gives them some much-needed stun and a lot of magic damage that they really needed to shore up this lineup. You can see already with the Ember Spirit, we talked about his strength in terms of not just counter push and turtling, but in terms of being able to add to a push in that way. Now you're going to have initiation. And Sand King, well, I shouldn't say of all the heroes. There were some that I feel like won out a little bit bigger in the last patch, but Sand King I feel like has been due for a comeback for quite some time. In the last patch with the changes to Blink Dagger in particular really did favor him and most other Blink initiators. So seeing him picked up more often really isn't that big of a surprise. But running him mid, this just gives the hero such an opportunity to flourish, to get up the items he really needs to feel important on the map in a much more impactful way. Arc Boots, Blink Dagger, or what have you. But seeing the lanes take shape, it is going to be an aggressive trial, and you called that one right off the bat. I mean, it's pretty obvious. Quakefoot plays an excellent Tinker, especially when he's given safe lane farm. And the way Navi's going to react to this is, I was going to say they could actually try to dodge this and put pressure on of their own, and that's exactly what they're going to do. They've already got Puppey and Kuroki down in that bottom lane with Havost here on our Ember Spirit ready to take off with Dindy in mid as mentioned, and they're going to have Funnick out in the solo safe lane. And this is really, Funnick I think is going to be the hero and the player in this first game that really makes the difference in the first 20 minutes. He needs to be active. He needs to get enough pressure on Liquid that they can never find their stride with that teleport gank lineup that they have drafted. If he can stay active and keep them on the back foot, he's going to go a long way in making sure Navi is in control of the pace of this game, not Team Liquid.
Yeah, and what's a really, really good start right now is NaVi, not only are they dodging it, they're dodging the tri-lane, but they're also have already countered the laning ward. So this is really, really big because this frees up Chen, if he wants to be able to go into the enemy jungle and bounce back and forth between middle and between bottom. So that's not only a good start, but then NaVi, knowing that they can run a Sand King because it's a Beastmaster mid, they put Sand King there, and that's where Caustic Finale really, really starts hurting. You can actually level that up early when you're melee versus melee, and it is really going to mess up Bulba quite a bit. He's going to be actually having a Bottle Crow very, very early on because of that harassment.
Here we go, Fluff making his way towards mid. Puppey's going to spot him. There's a burrow strike from the low ground, stomp to follow, and this is going to be a very, very quick first blood as Dindy plus Puppey are able to secure the first blood. Really nice burrow strike from Dindy. Not the most complicated maneuver, but still just heading uphill to secure the stun. Bulba even going to eat a burrow strike as well as Chen drops a couple more wards and makes his way back into the jungle.
Yeah, that was just, especially with the low range, Dindy, he had to get right up next to the edge of the cliff and get that burrow strike pretty much at its max length just because it's so hard at level 1 to actually be able to land that. So that was, like you said, a really good play for him getting close like that. What Liquid have now done is they're now putting their supports at bottom because they want to make sure, well, Tinker might be in trouble.
Ooh, Quakefoot being body blocked. Will they get the proc? Yes, they will. Here comes Funnick. He TPs in, and one last swipe from our Ember Spirit makes it 2-0. You know, that's something we didn't even really talk about, is the way that the Ember Spirit does function with a lot of other heroes, foremost among them Ancient Apparition. Searing Chains with the lockdown, with the damage over time, so long as you can isolate yourself away from creeps that could possibly eat up those 2 charges. And able to get the lockdown, and really nice body blocking coming out of Havost to make sure that the Cold Feet procced. Well played.
Yeah, Havost has really been shining as the carry of NaVi for quite some time now. If you look at the statistics for just this tournament alone, he has been like way out ahead when it comes to kills. But we're going to see constant action at this bottom lane with the Chen just continually providing that lane presence. But they went ahead and put Quakefoot top They're actually having Tinker go ahead. They can't have him against an aggressive tri-lane unless you have very, very defensive supports. And Liquid didn't really plan for that. They thought they had the lane presence to run an aggressive tri-lane against the defensive tri-lane of NaVi, and that was going to be fine. But NaVi's change up in lanes really messed up Liquid a lot.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And again, it's not like Liquid has to play the one style we've seen them run this lineup with. I mean, obviously, it's a big strength that you drafted for yourself, but it is very dependent on getting ahead and at least staying even or continuing to maintain that lead. And already they're behind 2 kills, so they may have to try to play something a little bit more calm, a little bit more based on the idea of trying to catch NaVi with their aggressive style and make them make mistakes. But great start for the Ember Spirit, and already up to level 3, damn near level 4. Puppy's actually very active in mid already. He's got a Centaur set up behind the tier 1, so a dive on Bulba very likely on the way. He's not level 6 yet, and as Dindy pushes this lane in, he's got 3 points in the Burrow Strike, 2 in the Caustic Finale. They are going to go for it. Centaur actually a little late to the party, so unable to get any kind of a stun. Bulba makes it away safely for now.
Yeah, this lane is so dangerous for Bulba, especially now that we're level 5. We have that long-range Burrow Strike plus the 2 levels of Caustic Finale, so every single creep that is popping is doing 130 damage to Bulba. That's really tough to deal with, so if he doesn't die, I'd be surprised. But bottom, we're having action.
And Havos going to be caught with open wounds, being very aggressive. There's Sleight of Fist. Here comes the bonus damage from the Chilling Touch. Unfortunately, yep, they will be able to go 1-for-1. They may end up giving up Kuroki in exchange, though, so not a good trade for NaVi, but a beautiful trade if you're Team Liquid. If they could track him down, he actually salved in between auto attacks. Looks like Fluff will be there, and he will, so Fluff takes that kill. But nice turnaround, and, that's the thing about Ember Spirit. As good as a hero can be, he can die fairly easily, and Havos just got way too far forward into this pull camp and got caught out with the Grave Chill and with Fluff's telekinesis. So Team Liquid on the board in a hurry. Koikva at top might be in trouble. Dindy with a haste room will land the Burrow Strike. Here comes the Epicenter just to guarantee a kill. And that's going to make it 4-2 as NaVi once again back up to double in Team Liquid.
Yeah, it's just so tough to deal with a high-level Sand King being able to pick up a haste rune like that. You pretty much guarantee you're going to get a kill off of that just because Sand King is so strong once he hits level 6. And Liquid don't have many stuns to be able to deal with this. Right now, what they have is Beastmaster Ultimate and Telekinesis coming out from Rubik. Eventually, you'll have the Visage Familiars, but again, that's not really reliable. You need that sort of instant stun to be able to stop that Epicenter from going out, or else it's absolutely going to wreck Liquid because they already have a decently inherently mobile lineup to be able to adjust to the global teleporting that Liquid's going to be employing. You put in Blink Daggers, the Blink Dagger specifically up on the Sand King, that is going to be able to pretty much allow them to, if they see where the Hawk's going to be at, if they get any sort of heads up of where Liquid is going to be ganking, they can respond basically en masse force and just pretty much counter gank everything Liquid is attempting in the mid game.
We see Bulba rotating over now. He's about halfway to level 7, has an ultimate at the ready. He's going to take a run at Kuro. Kuro way up under his tower, and Kuro knew this was coming. If you were watching the minimap, as soon as Bulba disappeared out of mid, you actually saw him pinging this entire area right through here. So he knew Bulba was heading that way, played safe, and manages to survive very easily. So Bulba unable to get anything going early. Dindy once again going to find a very nice rune. Not the best for a Sand King. Haste probably the best, at least at this stage of the game, but still never going to turn down a double damage. In the meantime, at bottom, we could see a concerted effort to push as Liquid already gave up their top tier 1. Now they want to get a little payback.
Yep, they trying to take some of those towers because their lane is suffering right now. I mean, so far, NaVi already taken a 2,000 gold lead, and those Boots of Travels are so essential. And you look at Tanker, Koifa's just so far behind. Bulba is not going to have his anytime soon. Meanwhile, we're going to have the Blink Dagger up soon on Dendy, so they need to be able to take some tower, get some sort of gold advantage since NaVi is so far ahead right now. Once you have that Blink Dagger up on Sand King, you're going to have a hard time finding any farm on any of these heroes, especially the Tinker. They're going to continue to shut him down. I think that's the one hero that they're looking to really isolate and keep his farm away, because if you can shut down Boots of Travel for a long time on a Tinker, especially in this strategy, you pretty much have already won the game.
Yeah, speaking of that Sand King in mid, he really is off to an amazing start. He's second highest on the CS board right now. A lot of that due to the build he went going with up. He actually manages to find 30 gold on the Hawk as well. But with Caustic Finale, it makes it very difficult for a melee hero like a Beastmaster to get forward without just eating a lot of free damage in this laning phase. Dindi and Kuro now hooked up on the other side of the river, keeping an eye on Bulba. Looks like they had something planned, but it's not going to back off. But yeah, right now, Dindi actually already has his Blink Dagger. It's going into his inventory. That's Brown Boots, Bottle, Wand, and a Blink Dagger up, short of 8 minutes. That's kind of just ridiculous, no matter how you measure it. Sand King, as good as a hero is, not known as that heavy of a farmer in this situation, but with a kill under his belt, 2 of them actually, as well as a good start there. Things really going their way. Liquid, though, going to try to get a catch out here on Havost, and they're going to find it as, nope, never mind, the mobility of the Ember Spirit. That's something we really didn't even talk about during the draft. The hero is just so ridiculously mobile and hard to track down that unless you get a pure jump on him, you're just never going to be able to just run up on him like we saw them attempt to do there.
Yeah, just between the Furion being able to teleport in, the Ancient Apparition with his global response, then you've got the Ember Spirit and the Sand King. Those are 4 heroes that can respond instantly, or not instantly, but pretty damn close to any sort of global teleport. So even once Liquid do have their strategy up and at the ready, NaVi, I think they know exactly what's going to happen, and they know how to counter it. I think their draft is built pretty beautifully to be able to stop this kind of mass teleports into the Hawk strategy. And if they keep up really good vision, they're going to be really, really solid even once the Boots of Travels come up. So Liquid right now really, really suffering. In fact, I'm pretty sure they're just going to have to go back to a normal old just Lifestealer carry strategy.
Yeah, and that's exactly what they're doing. Midas already up on TC.
Yeah, so he's going to be able to build that. Honestly, I think Blink Dagger is probably the best option for Bulba now. I don't think they can really go for the Boots of Travel strat because they need that jump. They need that Blink Dagger up on Bulba, and they should just go for Infest Blink ganks.
And we could see Funnick time and time again trying to draw a little attention to himself, thought about coming in. Looks like Funnick's actually going to be pausing the game at 9.5 minutes in. And yeah, I mean, this is kind of what we expected. NaVi obviously getting the best of the early game, but, this really doesn't favor Liquid in the long run. I mean, obviously, being behind at this stage, they're not hopelessly behind by any stretch. About 3,000 gold, maybe a little bit more. And that does include a tower kill that they gave up. But aside from that, just being knocked out of your game plan. I mean, we saw them execute this damn near to perfection. I want to say it was against Power Rangers, if I'm not mistaken. And they really got the job done, but being knocked out of that and now having to default back to a much more typical sort of an approach to the game, that's going to be very tough when NaVi has such a nice balance, as you had mentioned. They have so much mobility, in particular, between the Ember Spirit and the Nature's Prophet. And they also have excellent team fights. Sand King's Epicenter with the Ancient Apparition ulti and Chin's heals. So Liquid really going to have to try and get things done kind of in a grind-out fashion. Just good smoke ganks, good movement, don't make mistakes.
Yeah, fortunately, because of the Tinker, they do have a good turtling team, and with the Beastmaster and the Lifestealer, they do have some chance at going a little bit later into the game, but going up against an Ember Spirit and a Furion with Ancient Apparition, you have 2 very, very greedy supports up on, well, I say supports. Sand King is actually one of the cores, but Ancient Apparition and Sand King typically have been seen as supports, but they're also very, very greedy supports where they don't have the greatest laning presence, but their impact on the mid game is huge, and obviously that's going to be even more impactful as Sand King, as a core here, is going to be able to grab those very, very early items that lead into earlier levels. You're going to have level 2 Epicenter up soon, which pretty much nobody can survive that except for the Lifestealer. He's the only hero, even Bulba, and, Beastmaster is a decently tanky hero. He does have a decent HP pool and a high amount of armor, but against that magic damage of Epicenter, it's going to just crush through Bulba, and let alone any of the other supports that are nearby. So while they may have a decent turtling lineup, and that's going to buy them some time, they can't afford to. Really, their time to shine is going to be 20 to 35 minutes, I think, and that's going to be tough. That's going to be really, really tough because NaVi have excellent mid-game, and they don't have a whole lot of ways. All they have is this ganking strategy up on Liquid. They don't actually have a way to be able to take towers quickly and be able to take objectives. So even if they do win a couple of team fights, they find a couple of ganks up on NaVi, they're really going to struggle to start taking those objectives, to start taking map control. And map control is essential for this lineup. You want to be able to make NaVi blind. If they're able to see where that Hawk is going, and you don't realize that because the wards are obviously invisible, and you don't realize the Hawk is going into the enemy jungle, and NaVi know about it, and they're setting up a counter gank, absolute disaster will follow.
Oh yeah, absolutely agree. And this is where that chin pick really comes into play. Liquid at the stage of the game that they really need to execute. They're going to be a little bit burst reliant. They want the roar. You've got Visage who can just spam out Soul Assumption, and that's all well and good. Lifestealer, just the way the hero works. He wants to rage in, get damage done, get back to safety. Tinker is going to blow through his mana pool as quickly as he can using Rearm. But that's where the Chen, if he's able to get up a quick mech especially, comes into play. Just being able to use Hand of God and a mechanism to extend those fights really, really takes away a lot of Liquid's combat effectiveness. They have to burst these heroes down, and that's going to be tough enough to do as it is, especially with NaVi now having the lead and having heroes that are excellent at setting the pace and just setting the landscape of the map in terms of how the mid game's going to play out. Boots of Travel are now done on Bulba, so that's certainly a step in the right direction. And Koikva should have his up too, and that's really what it's going to come down to. If they're going to decide to go ahead and execute this, they're going to continue to farm TC, having picked up the Midas on him already, as we see. If and when they decide to start trying to drop the bomb on people with the teleport into the Hawk, they need to be successful. They really don't have a whole lot of room for error.
Yeah, you could see even right now, Ancient Apparition has just been able to pick up his level 6, and Kuro is already kind of probing some of the jungle with his Ice Blast, trying to figure out where they're farming, because they know they're not seeing them in lane right now. And they know that Boots of Travel is so essential for this whole entire strategy that they're trying to find out where Tinker's farming, so Dendi, with his Invis, can go ahead and gank him and slow down that Boots of Travel even further.
We can see he's going to head right on up to the Ancients. And Fluff is going to be in some trouble. Tower's going to drop, and there's the Burrow Strike. Ultimates aplenty. He's actually going to be able to telekinesis him out of the epicenter. And a couple auto attacks should be able to bring him down, and it will. So Funna gets that kill. Here comes Bulba in, though. And Bulba's going to throw out the Hawks. Good roar. Going to lock down Kuroki. Out comes TC. We're going to see Hand of God pop. It's enough to keep Funnick alive a little bit longer, but with no teleport available to him, he's likely, will end up dead as Way 2 unloads on him with Soul Assumption. Dendi tried to disjoint things a bit with a Burrow Strike, but this is the kind of plays that Liquid has to be making. Right place, right time, well thought out. Bulba going to run into Havos now. We see the Flame Shield pop. There's the chains, and Bulba eating a lot of damage off of this. There's the jump to the Remnant, and Bulba experiencing firsthand just how much damage, both over time and in burst, that this hero does have. And so far, we can see 2-1. Not a bad start for Havost at all.
Yeah, I mean, the first time that they revealed the Boots of Travel, they actually trade 2 for 2. Like, that's really not good. They needed to be able to absolutely crush, because now NaVi, they're probably not going to get caught out like that again. NaVi excel at being able to adjust to strange situations because they run such a versatile lineup. They're often used to it. Well, hold up. They're both in a little bit of trouble here.
Bo's going to eat the open wounds, has Remnant available, but it's so slow trying to get away from him. He does jump to it, and going to jump to it one more time up to the high ground. Good manipulation of the terrain there. You'll notice the angles at which he threw them. Guaranteed that it would be a much longer path for TC to pursue him out once open wounds expired. And he manages to make it away. And, this is just one of those things that makes the hero so damn maddening, is he can fight very effectively early, but he has the escapability of a hero more known as late game farming in an anti-mage. He just feels that way, as if you want to lock him down, you need an item like an Orchid, or you need to just absolutely get the jump on him, or at the very least have a hero with a dedicated single target silence.
Yeah, Ember Spirit, he does have several openings, and one of them is the fact that he doesn't typically build into a whole lot of defensive items. He's very, very susceptible to the Orchid, like you mentioned, but he doesn't naturally build into a BKB because he normally wants to just be able to max out that damage. That's how Ember Spirit is really so strong, is if you max out his damage immediately, Sleight of Fist, and combined with the early magic damage that he does, is just kind of overwhelming. He just kind of bursts down heroes very, very quickly, and you can't really respond with any sort of nukes because of his Flame Guard. So normally he doesn't build into a BKB, so any sort of control is going to be able to be super effective against him. But as it stands right now, Liquid do not have that kind of control. They don't have the mobility to catch him, and they don't have the lockdown to be able to ensure they keep him in one place long enough for them to get the physical damage out.
Dendi with yet another haste room. Going to go looking for a target. And we can see Koikva preemptively in position with March of the Machines to try and stultify this push a bit. It's going to be trading at Tier 1 for a Tier 1 so far, so he's going to try to hold the Tier 2 pretty much on his own. Puppey, in the meantime, though, has completed his mechanism ulti. Thrown out from KKY. And here we go. Dendi Might have had a chance to blink instead. Just going to play it safe. They've got an absolute swarm of creeps between the Treants, the Ursa, and the Centaur Conqueror. So taking the tier 2 easy, and Liquid just now getting down that tier 1. So very good trade for NaVi, and we're going to see them double back now.
Yeah, it's one of those sort of situations where it's not the trade you want to make, but you have to. Like, that's
right.
It was really Liquid's only option. And they may have to give up Roshan in exchange for a tier 2 if they can actually take the tier 2 fast enough. They don't have a whole lot of physical damage. Lifestealer does not do much damage to towers, and he's their main physical damage carry right now. So they may not even get this tier 2 off of Roshan.
Yeah, and we could see TC already trying to cut the creeps, but like you said, they just don't have a ton of push right now. I mean, hell, Visage isn't even level 6 yet. We're at 15 minutes in, and still just a level 5, way too sexy. That's problematic. They're going to give up Roche for free, and probably, yeah, there's no way they get this tower down. Hell, they've got a glyph. They can go en masse right now if they feel like doing it. And yeah, Dindy's going to go back to the tier 3. Here comes another TP into the tier 2. That's going to be Havost. Havost going to work on Fluff. There's the roar onto him, though, and actually telekinesed away from the axes of Bulba. And let's see. Yep, he's actually going to try to chase him down. TC hustling with those phase boots. And there's the bolas. The chains, I should say. TC should be able to rage and TP away, but nonetheless, NaVi able to keep that tier 2 up, and only keep it up, but keep it up in good shape, sitting at 900 HP. Once again, not a good trade at all for Team Liquid, and the gold graph tells us this one's already beginning to slip away from them a little bit. They're almost 7,500 gold behind now, as well as having an Aegis in the back pocket of Vos.
Yeah, you want to talk about like the mobility of NaVi. They instantly just pick up 2 items that increase it just double-fold. We now have a Boots of Travel up on Dendy, so he's able to just be all over the map. Look out Tinker. Like, Tinker has to be constantly scared because all it takes is just one jump and stun for you to be able to lock down a Tinker like that.
And way too caught with the ulti, as well as the Searing Chains. Dindy going to be telekinesis, but really, what do you do right now? I mean, the combat potential of NaVi is just so much higher than Team Liquid's. I mean, take a look at TC. TC bought that Midas, and pretty much it was a desperation move. The early game just did not go their way. Dindy got off to way too good of a start, and they knew that he was going to be coming full force, ready to fight and ready to use that epicenter under towers very early. And Koikva, again, being picked off a time or two. Actually sitting at 0-2-2 right now, so not the best early game for him. They knew they had to fall back and try to give themselves some options late, but in doing so, TC just has nothing. I mean, he's got 2,000 gold to go with his Midas, his phase, and his drums, but he's just being run over. He does not feel threatening at all at this moment. I mean, even Kuroki sitting on a point booster, even he's feeling tanky. In the meantime, though, they do manage to get a kill on Funnick up at top.
Yeah, the first time they were able to use that Hawk strategy for an actual gank and not just responding to a team fight. So that was good. Still, though, it's really, really tough. Yurion just picked up that Force Staff. He almost got away from that whole entire team fight because if he had just been able to keep on running, if he had that kind of movement speed, like Bulba doesn't have his Blink Dagger, he can't actually catch up. Now, he's trying to go for an Aghanims, and that will definitely help out a lot when being able to get that longer range, so you catch the moment somebody sees you or you're already throwing out that roar. That's going to help out a lot, but hold up, he's going to get caught out by Dendy.
Yep, Hawk, not all that useful whenever your burst struck right in the face. Funnick's actually not going to TP in. He's actually going to change his TP location and once again cancel it out as he forces a reaction into mid from TC. So unable to get the kill there. Trying to use this Hawk as best as they can to try and execute those drops. But right now, I mean, Navi's just way too in control of this map. They just don't care. They're spending most of their time either right at the river or even on the other side of it. And look at their warding. Just look at the wards they have down right now in Liquid's jungle. This is a tough time to be trying to farm.
Yeah, they pretty much NaVi have better control over Liquid's jungle than Liquid do. And that is never a good sign, especially when you're behind. You need that farm. Another gank, though, for top.
Making a run at Funnick. Funnick seems to be the prime target. Koikva's going to be able to land a couple of rockets, but Funnick with phase and that Force Staff, as you had mentioned. Such a good pickup from him. I mean, it's not the most atypical pickup, certainly, on a Nature's Prophet, especially at this state of the game. But getting it against this lineup in particular just makes so much sense. You know you're going to be a prime target. You don't have any dedicated escape mechanism. This just gives him a chance to say, okay, you want to commit that much, you better be right on top of me whenever you land in. Otherwise, I'm going to have a chance to get away and waste all of your time.
Yeah, until a Scythe of Ice is up on the Tinker or Bulba changes up his items and goes a Blink Dagger, they won't really have the lockdown and mobility combo to be able to catch out that Furion half the time. So they have to really time their Hawk teleports much, much better than that and really be a lot closer. But we saw earlier, Sand King, and I love this pickup. I said it time and time again. Veil of Discord is a very, very powerful item.
Good.
And on specific heroes that don't actually benefit that much from their Ags upgrade, it's a much wiser pickup. Bottom, though, action. Oh, my God. He just
and Dindy in position. Ready to jump right on top of them, getting the damage done to Bulba. Bulba going to be sprouted in, and TC forced to run away. So they managed to pick off Chen, but they end up giving away Bulba's Beastmaster in response. And really, that's not a good exchange for them. They need Bulba to be active, to be getting his items, to be getting his farm. Like you said, they need some mobility out of him. He's actually building a Scepter, which makes a ton of sense. I mean, if you're in this situation where you're falling behind, the game's continuing to slide a little further and further away, you want to have the ability to turtle, especially with a Midas up on your lifestealer. But mobility really is going to be the name of the game and trying to track down heroes as this game goes later and later. We've got 14 kills on the board, and really, it feels this has been a much more active game than either the scoreboard or even really the timer would tell you. It feels like a much longer game, only 20 minutes in now.
Yeah, it is kind of crazy, mainly because NaVi are just so damn farmed. But we saw that was the first time that NaVi really showed how they're going to respond to those ganks, and it was beautiful. Boots of Travel, teleport in from Dendi, teleport in from Furion. We had an Ice Blast go down, even though it missed. It's all the correct responses. It's just it's going to be hard for some heroes like Chen because they just get bursted down so quickly that they may not be able to respond in time to catch out a lot of heroes. But you go for anything tankier, anything that's a little bit harder to lock down, like Furion and his Force Staff. In fact, we're going to see Chen pick up one as well. He's already got it, basically. He's going to farm up that last bit of gold. So those heroes become even harder, and oh my God, look at that ward.
Yep, here we go. The Hawk thinking about trying to make something happen over near this bottom tier 1. Yep, here we go. TP coming in. They're going to try to take this for free as Koikva blinks off of the teleport on. And they should be able to get this tower. Now, this is something else we haven't even really talked about. We talked a lot about the gank potential coming out from Liquid, but their ability to even use it to push with the Tinker is not that shabby either. So far, I'm really impressed with the way Liquid is holding this game together. They could have just kind of all in and gotten real panicky and decided to just make things happen, overcommit themselves to that strategy, instead delaying the game. Problem is, they're also giving time for Havos to farm. He's already picked up a Deso now to go with that early Maelstrom.
Yeah, I like this build a lot more on an Ember Spirit rather than the Battle Fury build. I feel that Maelstrom, just a Maelstrom by itself, gives you the same kind of farming ability, but also really increases your ability to actually fight early on. And it's pretty essential, especially in situations where you don't think you're going to have a whole lot of grouped up heroes. And you look at Liquid, 3 of them are ranged. We have a lot of mobility on them. They're going to be able to stay decently spread out. So a Maelstrom is a little bit more effective in these fights when heroes are spread out rather than a Battle Fury, which relies on heroes to be grouped up. If you have something that is able to put heroes together, something like a Vacuum, something like an RP, Battle Fury you might actually consider. But Maelstrom, I feel, is just the superior item, and then going into that Desolator is just so tough to be able to deal with. Now NaVi are fully ready, I think, to go and start taking the last of the Tier 2s, take another Roshan, and then go uphill. Because with that Desolator, it allows them to, like you were talking about earlier, slow push in and just constantly harass Liquid until they find their opening.
Koikva helping to split push bottom. NaVi actually didn't get anything out of that smoke. They broke the wrong way after their smoke was revealed. But in the meantime, TC with Koikva helping to push this in. Now, TC is finding a fair amount of farm finally, and he should start feeling much more lethal than he did just about 5 or 10 minutes ago, as he has picked up an S&Y and has another 2,000 gold to go with it. Bulba, though, he's got a haste rune. They're going to try to track down someone. TP's coming in. There's a Burrow Strike, and Dindy hooking up with Havos, way too sexy. Killed off Funix there to help as well. And Bulba going to be missed with the Sprout, so a little bit of a misplay there from Funix and able to make it away. Because of that, he actually preemptively threw out the axes to try and cut himself a path. And the AA ultimate, actually not going to catch either of them. So NaVi manages to tally a kill, and they're going to push off of it, but Liquid still in a position to defend.
I can't get enough of this this cliff ward. I remember this was a long time ago that someone mentioned this, but it's so rare to actually be able to use it. But it's very, very strong against 2 types of heroes, Tinker and Furion. those are the two situations that it's actually really, really good against, because there's so many times where both of the really mobile heroes use their blink daggers or use their teleport to put themselves in the trees like that. And so you may see Tinker get caught out by trying to use that area. But now instead of they also have, just because they have the Hawk, they also have the Familiars, which I don't think we've mentioned yet, which is another added bonus to their teleport strategy, because obviously the Familiars add extra bit of damage, extra bit of lockdown, and they really need that right now, since NaVi are farmed up enough that they will be able to, one hero may not be able to survive through all that burst, but they'll be able to survive long enough for the rest of the team to be able to come in.
TC rages and teleports out. Very quick on that, and so long as he's quick on the trigger, he'll be able to continue to play aggressive as he has, and it's worked out for him. He's picked up a fair amount of items. Koikva now picking up his scythe device as well. So Liquid, I feel like, has weathered this storm about as well as they could have. And you can see, it's tough against a team like NaVi that tends to play ultra aggressive, that tends to pick themselves heroes on which they're super comfortable, so they're very rarely in a situation where they don't know how to play out any given situation at any given point in the game, no matter if they're ahead or behind. To go against a team like that and not only stop the bleeding, but to actually get things going the right direction, as that lead has shrunk by about a third now, from almost 7,500 at its peak to about 5,000 now. That's really a testament to Liquid stabilizing this mid-game well. However, second Roshan of the game does drop, and it's going to be a free Aegis for NaVi as they smoke out of the pit and go headhunting once again.
Yeah, they know this lineup is going to be pretty tough to try and go uphill against. Very, very hard to take down tier 3s, but they do with the Desolator now. They can quickly take down Roshan. They get the Aegis, and now Havos can be a little bit more aggressive. They need a pickoff, though. They really, really need to find something small, and maybe it's Koikva.
Yep, Koikva, the little Tinker, in trouble, and a lot of damage being done, but Hand to God, excellently timed, as Havos took it down to about the last bit of his health. In the meantime, though, way too sprouted in. Dindy's there with the Burrow Strike. There was a telekinesis to try and disjoint things a little bit. Now Dindy goes into the Sandstorm. Here's Bulba going to roar him through the Sandstorm, and a return kill going to go the way of NaVi. If they can bring him down, he's so tanky at this point. He's actually able to Burrow Strike away. Sprout's going to be off the mark and able to blink back out into lane. Here comes Funnick just in case, but what a great escape by Dindy. So that ends up being a 2-0 exchange, and in the meantime, they're in no position to defend their tier 2.
Yeah, that was just a really smart play from Dindy, but also the fact that he's also going that Shiva's, the plate mail just made it so they couldn't do any damage to him whatsoever. I mean, Sand King at this level is tankier than a lot of other heroes, because, TC's in some serious trouble.
Top of the side device. Do they have the burst? He's going to be able to rage, but Infest, not even going to be attempted. Knew he was dead the moment he came in. Knew the burst was going to be too high. Here in mid, we're going to have a bit of a battle as they're trying to track down Puppy. Rockets catch him right up the tailpipe. Scythe device used by Koikva. AA ultimate was actually stolen by Fluff, and they're able to use it to secure the kill with the help of a Koikva laser. Now the big reaction coming from NaVi as they charge uphill. There's a blink burrow onto Bulba. Bulba does not have his ultimate ready. 20 seconds yet. Will be sprouted in. Havost is there. He axes his way through those trees to try and find an escape path. Dindy has Burrow Strike. Nope, he's actually going to Epicenter, then go on top of him. So we thought we'd see just a blink and a Burrow, but instead making sure he secures the kill as efficiently as possible. 13-7, now the biggest lead of the game. Opened up by NaVi, and yeah, that gold graph, hang on, they're going to build on it too. Koikva caught with the scythe device, sprouted in. Once again, he does blink into the trees and should be able to TP away. Will blink one more time following the rearm and make his way back home. But Dinty, just a little tardy to the party, was about half-second late. But either way, again, the largest lead of the game, and Liquid, who had done such a good job of stabilizing this early and mid-game, now giving up a lot of ground.
Yep, NaVi, they finally farmed up pretty much everything they need. They're now trying to finish off a Daedalus, so that means Havos can kind of almost kill one of those supports with just one sleight of fist, which is just kind of crazy to think about. But they are low health enough that Havos can definitely do with a good Daedalus hit. Possibly kill them, especially if he's able to throw down the chains, but he might be in trouble and give up his Aegis.
Caught out in mid and has the Aegis pod. Now they have probably got to be a little careful. Yeah, they're going to stick, actually. They've got TC inside, immediately jumping to his Remnant, which was elsewhere, and actually finds a haste rune on top of that. So able to make it away, not just easily, but honestly, he could run back to base and back by the time that happens to expire. But they do get the Aegis, so sometimes you got to take your wins where you can get them.
I can't believe he was actually able to get out of that situation because Koifa was sitting there with his Scythe of Ice just clicking, just spam clicking where Havos was going to come up. And I'm really, really surprised that Havos was actually able to blink away faster than the Scythe of Ice goes out. Pretty much both are instant. So that was very, very impressive play by him, being able to pretty much out-spam Koifa.
NaVi grouping to head mid now, and this is a fight. If they decide to just take a full 5-man, Funnick in the meantime is still farming, but of course can join the fight at any point. But Liquid's rapidly reaching that point where they're running out of fights to lose, for lack of a better way to put it. They haven't really had good control of their jungle for a long time. Their farm has suffered mightily. They have managed to get farm on Koifa and TC, and that's all well and good. But Funnick now, at 30 minutes in, the effect of the Nature's Prophet really being filled up at top. We could see, yep, Funnick was there, but it looks like he'll be able to stay safe. We did have some personnel from Liquid in the vicinity. But in terms of pure net worth, Funnick's now on top. Ember and Sand King are actually in the 4th and 5th positions with TC and Koifa in 2nd and 3rd. But it's a matter of execution at this point. Just the way these heroes match up, they have to rely on pick and push, at least for the moment. We can see that's in play right now as Koifa already has TC inside and Bulba. With his Scepter done, no Blink Dagger quite yet, but still having the Scepter Roar ready to go. They really need to focus on that kind of play style for at least the foreseeable future.
Yeah, honestly, TC has been pretty impressive. The fact that he's wasted a lot of time trying to join in on these ganks, and they're going to go for Dendi.
Dendi caught with the scythe TC. Erupts out, Hand of God popped preemptively. They will be able to roar him down as well. Force Staff actually buys a little bit of time, almost able to burrow strike to safety, but ran out of lives that time and unable to escape. But yeah, that's what Liquid needs to do. In the meantime, though, they can't be giving up kills to Havost. At this point, Daedalus is only 500 or so gold away, and in the meantime, TC, surrounded by a sea of unfriendly faces, he ends up dropping for free. And it's, getting Dendi is a big deal, but whenever you end up losing a hero elsewhere on the map and then feeding TC, not only is it a loss, basically now you can't afford to lose any more fights. You have given up too much ground. TC's off the map for 54 seconds. He does have buyback if they want to use it. Don't know that that's going to be necessary, but Navi's certainly going to try as they're forcing their way down bottom lane.
Yep, Navi. Now, they still need to pick off the Tinker, I think, is the one hero that they really need to take out, because it's actually... I was going to go back to TC. His farming has actually been really, really impressive because he's doing so many infest ganks. At the same time, he hasn't gotten any kills. Like, he just picked up this kill for Dendi. That was his one kill that he's gotten the whole entire time. So the fact that he's ahead of Havos, who has picked up a ton of kills and has a really excellent farming hero, especially at this point in the game, where he's practically one-shotting whole entire neutral creep waves. If they stack up Ancients at all, which I haven't really seen them do a whole lot, Ember Spirit excels at being able to clear through Ancients very, very quickly. It's better with the Battle Fury build, but either way, he's extremely strong to be able to clear through neutrals like this. So I'm really, really surprised that TC has been able to keep that lead against him, especially since he's not just AFK farming. So much of his time is spent trying to sit inside of the Tinker and wait for these infest ganks.
Yeah, and that's, a big part of that's the Midas. He did have a laning phase. We saw Havost up. Hang on. Lifestealer actually does manage to secure a kill on Funnick. Actually, no, they got Havost that time. But very well played that time by Liquid, and that's the kind of kill that they can get it. They're going to be in great shape now. Koifa even adding to his arsenal of damage for the most part, and this comes into play with what you were talking about earlier, the fact that Ember Spirit is not really a natural BKB builder. It's just not what you see him do. Picking up the Dagon now just gives them one more option in terms of bursting down not just him but the whole team of Navi. As of right now, only one hero has a BKB, and that's Funnick. We might see Dendi maybe get one eventually. He's already got his Shivas up to go with the Blink Dagger and the Veil of Discord, as you had mentioned. But, just picking that item up at this stage of the game works for Koifa and is really going to lend them that extra little bit of punching power they need to continue to buy time for TC to farm.
Yeah, and I think at this point in time, I've kind of criticized Ember Spirit's players as getting a little bit greedy when they build into their third damage item. For me, that's a little bit too much. When you have the Maelstrom, good farming item. When you pick up a Desolator, or you go for a Battle Fury build, or anything else, that's okay. Yes, you need that extra bit of damage, but a third item for me is getting a little greedy, especially if you're dealing with a team that has the jump. And now, like earlier, they didn't have the jump. But now that Liquid has that Scythe of Ice, really key item for Liquid, because now they have the Blink Dagger, Scythe of Ice up for Koifa, meaning they have the jump on Ember Spirit. And I looked away. I looked away for literally 1 second to middle and to check out an item. And already, Havos in that time got jumped on and was bursted down. It's just crazy because Ember Spirit has no health, and if you're jumped on, you have no defense mechanisms whatsoever. He really needs to pick up that BKB, I feel. Or even something like a Linken's is something to consider because you're having to deal with so many single-target disables. If you're able to stop just one, maybe you're able to get off your ultimate before the second one comes in.
Abyssal done on the Lifestealer now, so TC basically, he's in fighting shape. I mean, with the completion of the Abyssal, he had the Basher up quite some time ago. Now having a dedicated form of lockdown to try to hold Havost in place long enough for him to be bursted down. You talk about the Abyssal and the way it's going to work with the Scythe of Ice, and speaking of, Funnick ends up dead once again to the pain train that Liquid has been running so far. Roche going to be back up in about a minute and a half, and it looks like NaVi is probably just going to stabilize and wait for the next Roshan before they try to push it all. But, yeah, this is actually working out quite well for Liquid. Taking a look back at the gold graph, we can see for the second time, even though they continue to trail by quite a large margin, 10,000 gold, the advantage for NaVi, and even more than that in experience, it once again is heading in a Liquid-based direction. They are moving that graph slightly in their favor. So over time, they could end up making up this deficit and even taking a lead theoretically. Problem is, NaVi only really needs to win one fight, maybe two, to break their back permanently.
Yeah, right now, Liquid, I don't think I really can give them credit for the strong enough late game. I think that NaVi, whenever there's a Furion on the enemy team, I automatically think that team just has the better late game because split pushing power going late is just unparalleled. Like, that is such a big feature of the Furion going into late game. It's not only he's able to farm up really well and he gets in all these decent items, but the reason he's actually a really good semi-carry is not because he's 6-slotted before other heroes, but because he has that mobility to be able to really abuse the fact that if you lose a team fight, you lose a Rax. And that's a feature of Funnick right now that you can't really say the same about Liquid. Tinker does provide a little bit of additional global power, and then if they do win a fight, they will be able to start pushing. They won't be able to take a Rax right away. So I still give NaVi the bigger advantage going into the late game, but that all depends on whether or not Ember Spirit continues to get picked off. NaVi, if Havos is going to be farming up on the enemy side of the map, they have to be protecting it at all times. Like, they have to have somebody. They have to have Puppey ready to throw down a teleport, ready to throw down a heal and his hand of God, because right now the burst and the chain disable is too much.
KKY in some trouble on the high ground. They did end up getting the Aegis, but TC able to add to his killing spree as they're able to bring down Kuroki. That's going to be some weak tea, though, based on what they wanted to get, and got there just a little too late to really challenge it. I mean, the speed at which NaVi can bring down Roshan is just huge at this point, and given that was the third Roshan, that's a cheese they lost as well. And they actually ended up giving it to Funnick with Aegis being picked up by Havos to no one's real surprise. But, Liquid, still 5 on the board, continuing to play very aggressive. Koikva with TC on board is down at bottom. He's got the rest of his team in the jungle, and we're going to see Fluff caught with the net. Dindy's right there, goes immediately into the Sandstorm, followed by the Stomp from the Centaur. And with Funnick there to add in one last Scythe of Ice, they end up trading support for support once again, just as we see KKY respond back on the map. So NaVi, even when they give something up, it seems like it's a 1 step forward, 2 steps back for situation for Liquid throughout most of this game. They're able to keep things together and able to even occasionally get things going in their direction, but it just never seems to last. NaVi just too quick to adapt.
Yeah, one really smart thing that Liquid has done is, didn't mention it before, but Fluff picked up a pretty early gem. He picked it up about 5 minutes ago. And this is pretty essential for starting to really kill all of the vision of NaVi, because not only we've talked about how important initiation is, well, if initiation is so important, then you have to clear through all of the wards. Middle, they're going to pick off Havos once again.
Yep, Havos loses the Aegis for free. And to tell you the truth, that's kind of an uncharacteristic mistake of NaVi. At this stage, they certainly know what Liquid's going to be trying to do. Up, hang on behind that. Bulba going to be sprouted in. Funnick's right there. Here's the AA ulti. They're going to jump right on top of him. Once again, just giving up good for good, but they're going to lose Havos for a second time. Now TC rages in and forces the BKB out of Funnick. And what I was going to say is not really characteristic of Na'Vi to give themselves such a big opening. They had Havost all by himself in very clear, plain vision against this team that Liquid has been running, this team composition that Liquid has been running for an entire game, just being able to drop on heroes that show themselves and seem to be alone. They had no one around to react, and then they overextended afterwards. So they are going to try to do something with it, but with Koikva up and ready, there's really no way they can push here. This is just a flat-out win for Liquid.
Yeah, right now Liquid are doing an amazing job picking off these heroes, and a big part of it is the fact that NaVi's lineup was built to be able to stop this mass teleports in the 25-minute mark. Now that we're getting into like Dagon 5 is soon going to be up on Koikva, that's too much burst. Like, they actually kill the hero before NaVi can actually start teleporting in, meaning they don't have a meaningful response. Earlier, when heroes were taking a little bit longer to die and the Hand of God was actually more effective, now it's beginning to drop off. You don't really care that much about an extra 300 health, an extra 400 health as soon as he hits level 16. That's not that big of a deal. You can clear through that in another half second. So as those sort of things, that extra bit of survivability is really decreasing and Liquid are getting deadlier and deadlier with their burst damage, NaVi can't respond fast enough anymore. The only reason they caught Boba there was the fact that he didn't have anything to cut down the trees and his axes were on cooldown. He was stuck in that sprout pretty much for the full duration, and that's the only reason they made any good trade off of the pick-off in mid. Then, of course, Havost did die after that, thanks to some smart play from Koikva. Koikva's just playing amazing right now. Considering the way he was shut down, being able to pick up that Scythe of Ice was so crucial for this Tinker. This strategy in the late game. If NaVi had ended it, or at least controlled this game before that had happened, I think this would have been looking like pretty much a stomp. But as soon as that Scythe of Ice was up, it gave them so much more added power, especially in combination with the Blink Dagger. So they're doing a great job picking everyone off, and that's great. However, NaVi, as long as they stay a little bit more grouped up, I'm not entirely sure how Liquid are going to be able to find the pickoffs that they need. I don't think they can fight 5v5s, especially if NaVi knows it's coming ahead of time. When Ember Spirit actually is able to use his mobility, to use his sleight of fist in these team fights, it's going to really just crush Liquid very, very quickly. The problem is, Havost has yet to get that fight. Every single time, he's either been farming, he's been picking off heroes of his own, or he's been being picked off. Like, we haven't seen a 5v5 team fight for NaVi, which is what their team lineup excels at this point in time. Ice Blast is a really big factor, especially since we have that Aghanims upgrade.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you can see the items that are coming out for NaVi, and they're going in exactly the direction you're talking about. We've seen them give up a bit more than they should have with some ill-thought-out positioning. Havost, a couple of silly deaths. He's 6-3 and 5, so he does top the board, but still has given up more than he should have. But when you look at Puppey, he's almost got basically does have the pipe done now. That's a big item. Havost is about to have his BKB as well. Those two items in and of themselves, absolutely huge in trying to crack the tier 3s against this composition that Liquid happens to have. And, just talking about synergy and the way they're all going to work together, whenever you talk about that Veil of Discord, it's going to work extremely well with Flame Guard, for example. There's just so many ways that NaVi's lineup is now going to synergize as they get these items out. But in the meantime, I mean, Liquid, again, is giving themselves as good a chance as anyone could reasonably expect, given the way the early game played out. I mean, the gold graph has now been cut down roughly in half from the highest mark that NaVi had set. So Liquid, again, continuing that trend of, okay, we made a mistake. Let's not try to get it all back at once. Let's just grind. Let's just grind back all that golden experience we lost and hope for the best. And so far, it's working. I mean, it's 12-17. NaVi still controls a maintain. How about we try to talk a little bit better? How about we say that NaVi continues to maintain map control. There we go. That's what I was trying to get out. And the absolute pace of the game. But Liquid, again, like you said, tough team to crack if they can execute. They just are going to have to execute even more tightly now that these big items are coming out, notably the pipe and the BKB.
AC, you know what I was thinking when you were having that trouble? I was going, hey, look, AC struggles over his words sometimes, too.
Oh,
he
man.
is human. Look at that.
Lack of sleep. And Puppey put to bed real quick as Liquid manages to catch him out just a bit further. Now we're going to have Funnick trying to react. He's going to pop the BKB. They're the Centaurs to stomp him down, but now TC roaring back onto Funnick. He's going to be bursted down, and Kuroki caught with Koikva's Big Dagon. We're going to see the BKB used by Havost, and the epicenter lands from Dindy. He was actually side device, but it doesn't matter. They're able to turn that fight completely around as Funnick has bought back as well. In the meantime, in mid, Fluff and Way2 trying to push in that tier 2. And Funnick there not in time. And Fluff will be able to make it away, though, eating a little bit of damage on his way out. So NaVi, once again, gives up a bit of ground, but Liquid ends up giving up even more. They lost the two most important heroes in their composition in that fight, Koikfa and TC. So NaVi, they did force a buyback out of Funnick, though. So at the very least, forcing them to strain a bit to get a little reprisal.
Yeah, that is pretty unfortunate that the buyback is going to be on cooldown, but at the same time, if this gives NaVi enough control of the map that they're able to secure the next Roshan, so the Aegis and the cheese that is going to be going their way, it'll definitely be worth it. Liquid, I haven't seen the Rosh timer come back up just yet, and we're about to see the circle finish, and we'll see how long it is till it's up. But if it's a longer Roshan, Liquid will be able to push out a little bit more, and perfect, just perfect for Liquid. It's pretty much the longest Roshan you can get. So they're going to have time to actually be able to respawn, take control of the map, and they should be contesting Roshan because it's a huge factor for this Ember Spirit. Now, he does have his BKB, so he does have some defense, but that's not going to be able to protect him from the jump initiation. And that's really the biggest power of the Liquid right now. So that's something to keep an eye on. And, ooh, interesting. We're now going to see Ethereal Blade picked up. Now we're seeing all of the big luxury items, anything on the board that is able to increase the magic damage you output, Sand King is picking up.
Yeah, and this is really what they need to do. And, a TC with Rage, obviously, on the lifestealer, he does have Infest to get him out of some trouble in the right situations as well. He's tanky as hell, 2,500 HP. He's got his Assault Cura stun, S and Y, so on and so forth. Probably be looking for a heart coming up next. But, Rage only lasts so long. And NaVi, as mentioned, this goes all the way back to the first 10 minutes when we were talking about the strengths of this NaVi lineup. They have an excellent team at extending fights, and that's a great way to deal with Lifestealer's combat efficiency. So NaVi, with a lot of tools in their cabinet to try and make this late game hard on Liquid. But again, Liquid is right in there, man. They continue to trail, but it's down again to 6,000 gold. The experience still pretty handily in NaVi's favor. But as we come up on the ultra late game, getting up towards 50, 60 minutes, those metrics start to matter less and less. And it just simply comes down to decision making. And if I'm honest, the fact that Liquid has managed to keep this game within a reasonable reach and maintain it in winnable status, even if they have been behind, I think their decision-making has been great, and we're going to see, once again, Havost engaged upon. But, beautiful play from Dindy, using the F-blade to try and bail him out. There's Koikfa using the Dagon to blow him up again. They get a return kill on Bulba, and TC now sprouted in, but Funnick, has to back up. Here's Dindy popping the Shivas and Burrow striking on top of him, so they end up bringing down Havost. But this has really just been the tale of the tape for Liquid so far. Make a good play, get caught trying to retreat, end up giving up more than you got.
Yeah, that was pretty much the only thing that Dindy could do there, and it was perfect, throwing down the E-Blade, but of course you just leave yourself susceptible to that big old Dagon, and I'm sure if Havost was being like, oh, thanks, Dindy. Oh, thanks, Dindy. That's now I'm taking a full Dagon 5 with extra damage to the face for it. But I was going to mention, Koikfa has one of the most important pickups right now for Liquid, which is a BKB. Koikfa grabbing BKB is really, really important because of the fact that Tinker, because initiation matters so much, it's going to be on Dendy most of the time to interrupt the Tinker in team fights. Tinker is a little bit too deadly if he's left just uncontested. So Dendy really needs to be the one trying to blink in and get the stun. And usually that's all it takes. It's just one blink stun, and all of a sudden you're able to get the rest of your team to be able to follow up on a Tinker. And that's what makes him a little bit harder. He may be this really strong late game hero. However, he has so much potential, but it's easily crushed by just one strong stun. But Koikfa being able to pick up this really late game BKB is going to be able to stop that a little bit. If he's just fast enough on his reactions, he'll be able to pretty much be uncontested in the first couple of team fights.
Speaking of uncontested, this could potentially be another uncontested Roshan. Koikfa's actually going to be able to get a kill even though he was caught out. Dindy simply doesn't have the attack strength to bring him down in response, so a free kill onto Funnick even as he was sprouted in. But NaVi, once again, looking to take a very easy Roshan. We're actually going to see another kill for KKY. As, Roshan ends up dropping in the meantime. Cheese is left in the pit. That's going to be Kuroki who ends up picking that up. But NaVi, again, fourth time Roshan has fallen, and fourth time we see an Aegis now on Havost.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm sure they smoked in order to get that, because right now we do have this ward. It doesn't give the greatest vision for Liquid, but they really needed to contest that Roshan, and it's very, very unfortunate that went the way of NaVi, especially with Koifa making such a big play, getting caught out but still getting the kill on Furion, but then dying to the Ice Blast like that. Like, that was a beautiful play, but then it was just kind of like the anticlimactic, oh, the hero actually does die at the end, because Ancient Apparition just, yellows out at Ice Blast from halfway across the map.
Here we go, pushing uphill. Ready to take a run at the tier 3 while Koifa is still down. Buyback is available for him if he wants to spend it, but the damage output on Havost right now is kind of absurd. Hitting for more than 300 damage, not counting crit, and now we're going to have Dindy roared out. Here comes TC. That was a very early rage, though. They managed to blow up the Chen, and whoa, they're going to catch Havost. They get the Aegis for free, and here comes Dindy back in. They're going to work now on Koifa, or Koifa going to work, I should say, and look at him just rail out the Dagon damage. Now Fluff making a run for it. BKB is up, but no! There's the bash, and all of a sudden, Team Liquid, who did not have a single big marquee team fight win this match, finally finds one not a minute too soon. 50 minutes in, and a huge turnaround as they wipe NaVi clean off the map.
And now they're going to force out mass buybacks and still might be able to take a tier 3. There it is. They have to back out here, and they may lose someone.
Oh, they're going to lose Havost again! Havost down, double buyback from Kuroki and Dindy as well, just trying to hold this map together. What an excellent sequence of events from Team Liquid. Again, the fact that they kept this game within a reasonable reach of their grasp heading into the late game was impressive enough, but that decision-making, the ability to engage, has just gone through the roof, and we're seeing them reap the rewards of it now. Yep, there's a roar on the Dindy for the low ground. Let's see if they can get the job done. Force staff, not enough, as Koifa blinks on top of him, Hand of God blown, and TC's actually caught out, but Kuro could be in trouble as well. The pipe came up just in time. TC going to work on the tier 3. Dindy once again catches Koifa. There's going to be a Sprout. BKBs popped on both sides. Dindy trying to do what work he can. Gets off the Shivas. Will be telekinesis. TC still way up front. Does not have an infest. Will end up dropping. It's a 2-for-2 trade. Tier 3. No, they got Koifa. That's a big pickoff. Managing to get Koifa right there. Pretty big deal. And we can see Fluff trying to make a run for it, but Phonics right click. He actually misses with the Sprout. So he's going to double back around. The Visage Familiars are there to try and help. Doesn't look like it's going to matter. And he uses the Sandstorm trying to buy himself some time. And here's Bulba actually going to roar in from the back, and they get Phonic. TC back up as well. Buybacks on both sides. Puppy being chopped down by TC, and in the meantime, Bulba continuing to chase Kuroki. There's a cold feet thrown out following the ulti, and Kuroki going to try to TP away. Mass buybacks on both sides and an insane 3-minute exchange on both sides of the map. In the end, Liquid is the closest they've been all game. The gold just about down to 4,000. Only the advantage for NaVi, the experience being cut into as well, but more importantly, Liquid feeling tall and proud on the enemy side of the map for the first time this entire game. Well played on both sides.
Yeah, that was just such a... honestly, I did not give Liquid enough credit for their late game, because what it is Koifa is always able to find the initiation. Liquid are being super, super aggressive every single time, constantly forcing the fight, forcing the issue, because they know if they get aggressive, they may catch out NaVi out of position. But most importantly, if they're the ones jumping in, they control the team fight. And that has allowed Koifa to just win team fights for Liquid all over the place. He's keeping constant Scythe of Ice up on him, really, really important heroes. He's bursting them down with Dagons. He is making all the right plays, and he is the reason that Liquid is in this game right now. He is playing out of his goddamn mind so far. And NaVi had that beautiful response. I mean, with Havost dying a second time and still managing to be able to fight back. Honestly, Ember Spirit has been the weak point of this whole entire NaVi draft, and it's not necessarily because the hero can't work, but I feel like maybe we're not quite sure how to really use him just yet. Mainly because of the fact that Liquid are always having the initiation. We've yet to see a good team fight where NaVi are the ones initiating. And because of that, Ember Spirit has no follow-up. Like, when you don't have the initiation, when you're not controlling the team fight, Ember Spirit is very, very hard to make useful in team fights. his spam and everything, all the strengths that we talked about, really depend on whether or not he's able to just sit back and throw down Sleight of Fist and use his mobility to kind of abuse, oh, where's Ember Spirit? Oh, he just jumped away, now he's back in again. He's not really making use of that, all because of Liquid are always finding the jump.
I almost feel like it's a little bit of a case of hubris for NaVi, most notably the fact that, I mean, Havos is farmed like all hell, but the timing window for Ember Spirit with this kind of a build, BKB coming out so late, as you had mentioned, a little greedy, going for a third damage item, etc. If you're going to do that, that's great. Just go run over them, or at least try to run over them. For the most part, NaVi, even though they've been getting good picks, and even though all game it seems like they've been trading either even or slightly to their own advantage, the hero just kind of missed his mark in terms of when his strength really is. And now as the game has gone later, coming down to what you were talking about, initiation, single target lockdown, Bulba with a refresher up to go with his Axe and a Blink Dagger. That's 2 roars they have to cope with. They have to deal with infinite Scythe of Ice coming out of Quakeva. They have to deal with TC, having an Abyssal Blade up. And that's to say nothing of the basic lockdown of what they had already drafted. Way2 even has a Scythe of Ice, and Rubik with a Telekinesis. So they have so many ways to account for him that bringing him down with this kind of a build, pure damage with a little bit of magic immunity, not much survivability across the board, it's just not working out for them, as we saw in that last sequence of events. So right now they just need to change things up a little bit. The pipe was a big pickup. Don't feel like they got the most out of that as they could have. Dindy still has his cheese, has his Eth Blade. They have so much damage to pour out, but to be honest, Liquid has just outplayed them in the last 15 minutes. I don't think there's any doubt about that.
No, absolutely. When you have a over a 10,000 gold lead, you look at the win rate of teams that are that far behind and are actually able to make the comeback. It's very, very few teams who can make it, because most of the time that is just simply being outplayed. And to actually come into this game saying that Liquid was going to outplay NaVi is just kind of you just kind of be dumbfounded. Yes, you expect Liquid to rise to the occasion and contest NaVi, absolutely, but to say that they're absolutely outplaying them is just feels so weird to say. But I think it's absolutely happening. They're always being able to control the team fights, and that's such a huge issue. Now we're going into late game. Like, normally we don't see past the 55-minute mark. It's a rare situation that only happens in like 1 in every 10 games where we get past the 55-minute mark. And now we're going super late, where Ember Spirit, I mean, already he was sort of a hero that hasn't really been tested a whole lot into what he can do. But seeing him this late game is going to be interesting, because again, he's a hero that even the competitive teams, going back all the way to Dota 1, don't really have a whole lot of experience with him, because he just was never on captain's mode. When he was first introduced, he was overpowered as hell, and then he kind of got nerfed into a little bit better situation, and teams haven't really been able to run him in these sort of drafts. So I think that's a big issue for NaVi, is they're dealing with a hero that they don't know really what his playstyle is, where he fits best, whether or not they can go late game. And I think that was a big part, is I thought they could go late game against this. And I think that in the 35 to 45-minute mark, they should have been able to end the game by now. However, now we're going really, really late game, and we're getting to a point where you question whether or not Ember Spirit can actually be able to out-carry a Lifestealer, Tinker, and a Beastmaster, especially with some supports who have decently farmed items as well. Like the Scythe of Ice on Visage is huge. So even though that NaVi have some really good backup, with like Ice Blast is a huge factor in team fights still, and it always will be at this point in time, you have a good supporting cast for NaVi, but you kind of question whether or not they're actually able to end the game now.
Yeah, I mean, pushing in the tier 3 against all of this, I mean, even, it's always a factor, but, March of the Machines, but, I mean, Quakeva as a whole, he's even more farmed than the Nature's Prophet right now. Whenever you talk about ultra late game, you figure Prophet's going to have a gajillion gold, he's going to have infinite buybacks, or at least it'll feel that way, and he's going to be pushing your racks every single opportunity he gets. That's why the hero becomes so problematic late down the stretch, as you had mentioned. But Quakeva has played so well. I mean, he is essentially 6-slotted right now, depending on if he wants to drop that soul ring or not. But I mean, Roche is back up, and NaVi already in a very good position to try and take a run at it. We can see the Hawk actually did spot it there. So they are going to be able to challenge this, and this will be the first time, if they do challenge it, and I'm sure they will, this will be the first full-out Roche fight we've actually seen between these two teams, as NaVi took 4 unanswered up until this point. We can see Liquid under cover of smoke looking to catch NaVi. with a little bit of greed, and they're going to have Koikfo with TC inside, poking his nose around the river to begin with. NaVi has withdrawn up to the dire side secret shop as they wait. But Havos showing his face a little bit. Koikfa still on the low ground, and he may try to take a run through the back of this fight. He blinks up to the high ground. He's going to have his smoke popped, and Dindy spotted it. So Koikfa and TC probably need to be hustling elsewhere. Yep, there we go. Blinking back in the lane. So if he blinked up a little bit earlier, a little bit later, could have gone either direction. Instead, able to retreat back to the safety and succor of his own team. NaVi, though, still thinking about Roche, and they're going to move into the pit, at least for the moment. Team Liquid hooking back up here in mid. Koikfa back with Waytu and Bulba. Speaking of Bulba, looping through the river. They need to get in there quick. Roche loses health very quickly at this stage to this build, and the Visage Familiars are there with the stun. Koikfa jumps in, and Havost in trouble. There's the pipe, and the BKB's pop. Koikfa is going to end up dropping. Havost makes it to the high ground. Bulba double roars Phonic through his own BKB, but in the meantime, they're able to bring down Kuroki. TC infesting back out, but Havost was never brought down in that fight, so he's continuing to do work. Phonic now blasting away on Bulba, but with Koikfa buying back and finding his way back into the fight, they're going to end up forcing many buybacks out of NaVi. NaVi buying back with the Nature's Prophet as well. Bulba's there, TC's there. And this could end up being the turning point of the match. Only one down on the side of Team Liquid as of right now. That's Fluff. Two down on the side of NaVi. It's the Ancient Apparition and the Chin. Let's see how confident they are in trying to take this fight. They retreat back to the high ground while NaVi continues to sit in the dire side secret shop. Roshan at about half health, so both teams come away with bloody noses there, and it's not over yet. Still continuing to set their heels and try to figure out how they can walk away from this with an Aegis.
Oh, God. Koikfa's just in such a good position to jump.
Oh, jumps on Havost again, and there's Dindy catching him out. Oh, he's actually going to be caught with the Abyssal. Dindy forced to try to make his way away. He's going to be Scythe of Ice. Can they bring him down? They will. So another big kill for Liquid. And Liquid finally might be in a position to take their first Roshan at the game at 61 minutes in. In fact, yep, NaVi just pulls back, licks their wounds, and Havost has got to be feeling really impotent at the moment. He just has not felt like much of an influence in the last 15 to 20 minutes.
Yeah, what a big factor in a lot of these super late game team fights is basically who can, because you're pretty much on the same gold front, right? I mean, you look at the gold graph, even if it was like 8,000 to lead of NaVi or to Liquid, it wouldn't really matter that much because a lot of the main heroes are 6 slotted. A lot of their extra gold is going the way of buybacks. Supports are getting, some important items that help their survivability or maybe a single disable, but it isn't that big of a deal as it compared to mid-game. I mean, 10,000 gold is much more important than it is 60 minutes in. So what is a bigger factor in a lot of these team fights is who can bring more numbers, because it's just a clash of the titans, people just smashing up against each other, but who can bring more numbers to the team fight? And that's Liquid, because of the fact that they have this build with mass boots of travels, with TC, Koifa, and Bulba all having boots of travels up on them. And then on top of that, they actually have the minions to be able to teleport directly to a team fight. So even if NaVi, with Havost and Dindy, both having boots of travel, and Phonic being able to globally teleport, two of those heroes depend on being able to teleport into a team fight for a creep, and they don't have that. If Chen doesn't have his creeps up or something like that, they won't be able to teleport directly into the team fight as compared to Liquid, who have so many different things. They have the Hawk, they have the Board, they have most importantly, the Visage Birds, which are a big factor in the team fight. All of those things are much harder to kill. So if NaVi don't have the ability to teleport the Chen creeps directly into a team fight, Liquid should be able to win it every single time when it comes to a buyback battle, because they're just able to instantly respond. Koifa is the biggest example of that in the last team fight. Instantly came back in, popped his BKB, and was going to town on all of NaVi, just being able to lock everyone up. And how do you adjust to that? Like, when you take out a Tinker, you have to have such good communication to go, Tinker's back, and he's in X part of the map, let's go get him. Mm-hmm. Because you're so focused on being able to spread out and kill out those other heroes. You had Havos trying to chase down some supports, trying to kill the Beastmaster, and all of a sudden the Tinker, who's in the Roche pit, is blinking in and disabling him. Like, you have to have supreme, pretty much perfect teamwork to be able to deal with this kind of mass buyback teleport in strategy.
Oh yeah, and worth mentioning for the first time, In about 35 minutes, maybe more, maybe 40, we're now back on even footing in terms of towers, as the last remaining outer tier tower did fall for NaVi not long ago. 29-30, and look at that. For the first time since the horn blew, Team Liquid now has a gold lead. They have cut down a 12,000 gold lead gradually over a half-hour span, not only to 0, but to 4,000 in their own favor. The experience still very handily in NaVi's favor, but the momentum right now 100% on the side of Team Liquid. And the tip, hang on, there's Bulba yelling out onto the Ember Spirit. TC going to work, double roar. Can they get him? Hand of God, not enough. He ends up dropping. TC, infest in, infest out. There's a nice burrow strike, epicenter. Koikfa will survive it just barely. Nope, check that. Does end up dropping when all's said and done. Here comes Dindy looking for payback on Fluff. Fluff waiting on some help. In the meantime, the rest of the fight rages behind us as NaVi reacting, catching out TC, who's able to teleport away. But they did end up getting Koikfa. And picking off Koikfa, even though Bulba had already spent his ultimate twice. Still getting him, getting Koikfa, though, that's the big pickoff. So NaVi, who had given up such a monstrous lead, counter-punches now, landing a nice jab and keeping this game going. To be honest, this game could go 80 minutes. It wouldn't surprise me at this point.
Yeah, this is just absolute crazy back and forth. But the biggest thing has been the fact that the supports on NaVi, they're pretty much doing all of the work. Like, Havos is an excellent carry and everything else, but he's not really making this Ember Spirit work. Every single time he's been picked off, and it's pretty much because, like, Ember Spirit is a bigger factor, I feel, than Lifestealer in a 5v5 situation if he's able to actually hit people with his sleight of fist, and he's better clearing through supports. But Lifestealer is an excellent, he's a good carry, but he's an excellent anti-carry in the fact that he locks onto one hero and he destroys them. That's exactly what Liquid did beautifully, is they let TC get onto Havos, let him go. The rest of them backed up. They backed away from the Ice Blast. They backed away from the epicenter, kept their distance, and just let TC do his work. They killed Havos, and then they tried to go in for the team fight. But NaVi, having those very, very strong supports, still able to make the team fight work despite the fact that Havos was already dead, did nothing for the team fight, and did not have a buyback to contribute.
Just look at how scared of Koikfa they are. Koikfa responds, and yes, they're waiting on creeps, and that's all well and good, but for the most part, not even willing to play too far forward. Koikfa, in the meantime, is shoving in that top lane once again, will be back and ready to fight, and this is just the problem that they face. Koikfa still has his buyback. Bulba's buyback actually expired just a few seconds ago, so he's going to be able to buy back so long as he continues to keep his gold banked away. But at this stage of the game, I really feel like it's Liquid's game to win or to lose. I mean, yes, you can talk about the metrics and all that, but it has to do with the way these heroes are now functioning. Koikfa, such a big factor as we talked about all game. They have so much lockdown. Funnick certainly is a big factor in his own right. Even picked up a Lincoln Sphere, which he can use to help out the Ember Spirit and so on and so forth. But just look at NaVi. I mean, this is a team who spent probably the first 30 minutes of the game on the other side of the river, and now, as soon as all 5 are up from Liquid, they have to pull back. They have to make sure they run as groups and stay very close to each other, just because of how much kill potential this Liquid squad has and how big a loss it'll be if they end up losing 1 or 2 more heroes.
Yeah, this is something that now that we're getting, again, into the super, super late game, we're seeing item pickups that are very, very out of the ordinary, but it's interesting to talk about. For example, a big one right now is Puppy, who does have a diffusal blade specifically meant to be able to kite around the Lifestealer as much as possible. As soon as the rage down, we have an additional slow with that purge to be able to hold him up and be able to keep him out of the team fight as much as humanly possible. I don't think there's anything specific that he's really going to be using purge for, just aside from trying to kite around the Lifestealer. In other interesting pickups is we're now getting another Dagon, a really late game Dagon, but it's going to be up on way too sexy, and it's because he doesn't have a whole lot else to build into. He decides he's going to add on to the additional burst that Koikfa's already throwing down. So the faster that they can burst a hero with combined Dagon 5s, the better, because you pretty much have almost like 2,000, 2,500 burst magic damage coming out from 1 Dagon from Wave 2, and then 2, maybe even 3 Dagons from Koikfa. And
big pick on Havos. Havos picked off once again as he was roared out by Bulba in that bottom lane. And the teleports were there, but they, honest to goodness, hardly even needed it. And now this is pretty much disastrous. Havos doesn't have buyback. He's down for the full 80 seconds. And Liquid if they're able to crack this Tier 3, may be able to execute what has to be considered one of the biggest and best comebacks of competitive Dota so far in 2014. Here we go. Koikva, locked and loaded, has TC inside, and they're beginning to set up shop near this Tier 3 mid. Funix there, as is Puppy. Dindy playing far back. Kuro far back as well. And this all comes down, yep, they're going to pop the Lincolns on Funix. But just look at Koikva, the mass march of the machines, keeping this lane permanently pushed. They may try to crack it now off of this creep wave, and they will. Koikva getting into position. Here come the birds. There's a Sprout, and he actually manages to steal the boar away from Bulba. 35 seconds until Havos is up. I'm actually really surprised Liquid hasn't committed more to this than they have. With the mass mobility, with so many blink daggers and so many force staffs, etc., you'd think they'd be able to swarm them, but instead playing much more cautiously, and we'll see if it ends up costing them.
Yeah, right now Liquid, they know that they're so close to being able to win this game, but they don't want to make a fatal error. And they've already shown in the last 15 minutes that they have basically they have all the right plays to be able to let NaVi go ahead and regain map control, or at least a little bit of it. They don't have to go all in just yet. So if they feel like playing cautious, I'm all for that, because they've already shown that as NaVi start pushing back out with Havost, and especially since the fact that they know that Havost didn't have a buyback there, and it was long enough. Like, it wasn't because of the timer, it was because of gold. Havost has no gold right now, and this is really, really bad. He has to actually spend time farming up. If he goes into another team fight where he dies like this and he actually has others dying behind him, this game's over.
Roche Pit, once again the focus. Koikva still has TC inside, and neither team willing to commit. We see the pipe was popped from Puppy, so that's going to be on cooldown for about a minute. And let's see if Liquid wants to try and blink uphill like we've seen them do once already. We can see the Greater Hawk already being used to scout around, and NaVi very well aware that any tree line could end up being a point of initiation for Team Liquid, withdrawing all the way back out into lane. Koikva with TC poking their nose into the pit. NaVi up on the high ground trying to just hope that Team Liquid makes a mistake, comes uphill, does something. We see Koikva actually go straight to top lane. They may end up taking a bum rush on it, and they will. Moving right on into the pit. Koikva will be right back into the fight right now. Here he comes, landing in on the bird, still has TC. And they need to get in there soon. Roche is down the half. They're going to spot it with the familiars. They're going to try to get the stuns out. No, Koikva is going to end up being side device. Funix doing what work he can. TC's chunking away at him. In the meantime, behind that, though, Dindy gets off an epicenter, manages to catch Koikva and Fluff. And finally, we see Ember Spirit coming into his own. He's going to be roared down once again, though. And two buybacks coming out from Liquid. Ember Spirit is down for good. Kuroki blown up by that mass magic damage burst, the two Daggons and the laser from Koikva, and way too sexy. Just way too much to cope with. And as you mentioned, no buyback on Ember Spirit before, no buyback on him now. He's down for 80 seconds. They're going to be able to take this Roshan once again, and they may be able to push off of it. Another well-executed fight, but this is just the strength of that lineup. Even if you win a fight, you don't really win. With that many boots of travel, with just the way this team functions, you have to kill basically their whole team twice, and it's just not happening for NaVi. And they maintain a kill lead, but once again, what a comeback and performance this has been out of this Team Liquid squad.
Oh, Funix bottom, he's in some serious trouble.
Yep, Funix, and he actually eats the damage on the Lincolns, and Koikva trying to rearm. Doesn't have a whole lot of mana. Slice one more time. Fluff's there to help him out, and Funix ends up being the latest kill tallied by Team Liquid. That makes us tied in kills for the first time in about as long as this game has gone. What a game. 72 minutes with 68 kills.
That was one of the most entertaining fights I've ever seen, because it was 1v1 with both teams having creeps there in a position for boots of travel, and both teams were trying to boots of travel, and both Furion and Tinker were focusing down the creeps that they were trying to teleport to. Every single time they see a teleport, they turn, they take down that extra hero. But that was greedy. Yep. That was super, super greedy from Furion, because he wanted to be able to pick off Koikva. But Koikva, he's actually pretty big. Like, he's tanky enough that Furion just can't burst him down. Oh, no. Courier's going to go down, and that was a Lincoln's for Havost.
That's such an important kill. Taking the Lincolns down as they get ready to crack to Tier 3. Havost back up. Oh, what a big pickoff that is.
Yeah, that is so huge, because, again, he invested money into Lincolns, which means he doesn't have buyback.
They're going to be able to bring down Fluff here. He should end up dying to Ice Blast, I do believe. Yep, there we go, finally. And Dindy committed to come out, and Dindy getting a little greedy. Almost ended up dead. There's open wounds on the puppy. In the meantime, Sprout on the TC. Funnick and Havos are going to work. And Havos able to jump back to safety. Behind that, there we go. Dindy coming back in with a Shiva's Burrow Strike. Dindy still there. Koikfa going to work. Ember Spirit pops the BKB. There's a roar from Bulba as they try to find the damage. Sleight of Fist too strong. Way 2 ends up down. However, the burst once again out of Koikfa just too much. The Aegis was popped in the meantime, but again, that's a full 90-second duration down for the Ember Spirit TC. Chopping away on the Tier 3. They lost Way 2 and they lost Fluff amidst all of it. Funnick's still there, and Funnick is doing good damage. We're going to find out. Dindy, Burrow striking in, pops the Shivas as well. Can they get TC? No. Able to make it away behind that, though. Koikfa going to work. Dindy has to run. No, he'll be Dagon down. Puppy trying to make it to the high ground, had to reverse. Bulba, though, gets the kill on Funnick. Sprout was there. Here comes Puppy once again. Caught with the Scythe of Ice. They can't get him from the low ground, though. Four Staff's able to get most of NaVi back into position. There's Koikfa getting very aggressive, and he may end up paying the price. Cold Feet actually procced on him. Dindy doesn't have a Burrow Strike. Scythe of Ice, roar, and down he goes. That's a double kill for TC. And finally, we're going to see a Tier 3 tower drop. TC and Team Liquid have pulled off a miracle, helping to clean this fight up, and Koikfa still going to work. That's a full 5-man wipe, and this could very possibly be GG, and what has to be the best game I've seen as a cat. Yep, never mind. That was actually a cat.
But yeah, it's definitely GG. Like, we have 0 buybacks coming out from NaVi. They can throw out the Ancient Apparition, they can throw out the Chen. That is it. That cannot defend, especially since you're talking about 3 racks are going to be down, Tier 4s are going to be down, even if we do have all of these buybacks. So, wow, I can't believe this. Like, 75 minutes in, this has to be just an absolute amazing match. I mean, we've had so many good matches in the Dota 2 Champions League, but Liquid, I just impressed everyone with this match. I can't believe they were able to pull this off after being so far out of the game.
And Havos runs out, feeds once more. GG cold as his corpse rests warm on the ground. And I'm a little stunned at how well Liquid played this game out. And by the time this game ended, they actually held the biggest lead generated by either team. 76 minutes, the time it took. Looking at the final box scores, I mean, no surprise. It was on the back of TC's Lifestealer and Koikfa's Tinker that they were able to hold things together. Bulba, though, very quietly, a 1-7 and 29 box score for him. And he played phenomenally well as well. But, you know, NaVi, it's hard to even pin down the moment they lost their momentum. And we actually see that Havos finished in the negatives, 10, 12, and 10 for him. But it's hard to pin down exactly when they lost momentum. I think, though, the moment the game really swung out of their control was when Havos fed that second Aegis, whenever he just gave it up for free.
Yeah, there was definitely a number of Havos pickoffs that were pretty much deadly for NaVi. They couldn't then try and end the game. They lost control of the map. Another big pickup was the fact that they waited long enough that Koikfa was able to grab his Blink and his Scythe of Vice, which then turned into like mass daggoning people and mass controlling people down over and over and over again. And there were just so many times where Liquid outplayed NaVi. I don't think you can really put it down to just one factor, because there were so many times where NaVi still, even after getting picked off, they still had control of the game. They still had everything they needed to be able to end it, but they just couldn't. They just kept getting picked off over and over and over again until Liquid finally had a big enough lead to be able to do full-on 5-on-team fights. So I think it was just NaVi never being able to push in once we got into the late game. They had enough control. They just couldn't quite end it. They kept misplaying. And Liquid did absolutely everything, and they pretty much played it perfectly, being able to capitalize on every single mistake that NaVi made and just continue to get those pickoffs. And Koikfa has got to be the MVP for this game. He played just the most amazing Tinker I've ever seen. But that's going to be it for this, guys. This was one hell of a match, and we've got even more coming out. That was just game 1. We're going to have a short little break, and we do have some stuff to talk about as we get into game 2. So we're going to have a commercial break, and we will be back with game 2 of Liquid versus NaVi.